Plenty of stuff going on this week around the San Francisco 49ers as they get prepared for their final game of the season. And as we heard from Kyle Shanahan today, a couple players will not play, including quarterback Brock Purdy. Well, what perfect timing to ask a quarterback about the thought of not playing in this final game as they get prepared to head into a round one bye in the playoffs and what that all means. Steve Young joined KMBR for his weekly conversation with Tolbert and Copes to kind of go through and answer this question. And this is becoming a reoccurring theme. I'm going to let you listen to Steve Young, and he's going to explain it to you from his perspective based on real life experience. And then I'm going to react to it on the other side because I've been talking about this all week. But take a listen to Steve Young. He's not the biggest fan of Brock Purdy not playing in this game. Take a listen right here.
How do you mentally prepare for this week where you're playing? And look, some starters are going to have to play. You don't have it's not basketball. You can't put in the whole second unit and let them play 48 minutes. Some guys are going to have to play. How do you prepare your mind for this week where you're already set? You're just trying to get through it.
Well, from a I can speak from the quarterback spot. I don't like sitting out. It's not taking a week off. It's just I'd rather warm up, play a quarter, even a half, and be done. Like that's the way to kind of stay with it. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like there's any. Now you're going to get the next week off, so you're not going to play for 3 weeks. 21 days. That's just from a quarterback spot. That's a hard restart. It takes a minute. I always said. It takes every game you miss, it takes a half to kind of get fully back up to speed. And so, for me, I would want to go and, kind of dress up, ready to go through the routine, be under fire, don't want to embarrass yourself, go out there, all that pressure that you get used to. You think football, the biggest mistake that people can make in football, and that's why you learn as a little kid, is to go out there and just throw your jock on the floor. Like you get yourself punched in the face. Like you have to be ready to play emotionally to play football. And so as you get to the pro game, no one's just just chilling. So yeah. I think you got to go through the routine. You got to get ready and you got to go play good football. And I think that you should look forward to it. I think that, you stay the core, you stay in the moment. This is a series of games that are set up for this to get to the spot. And in some ways the time off is great and the time off is not great. And I think anyone who thinks it's all great, it's not all great. It's great, but it's not all great. And so you got to watch out for the parts that I just described, because you do not want to get into a, divisional game against a team that has potential to throw some darts around, the Eagles or the Cowboys, and then start slow. And then, we got beaten 87 by the we talked about last time, by the Anthony Carter Vikings. They just came out and just big plays, big game. And before you know it, it's over. And you're like, well, wait a second. No, we're the number one seed, bro. What are you doing? You're supposed to just lay down. And it just doesn't happen. So there is fear. There should be a little fear in taking a couple weeks off.
I wonder if it would be better, and I think eventually Stevenson will get to this point, where they add another playoff team, and no one's going to get a bye. So one will have to play, I don't know, what would it be? 8, I guess it would be. Yeah. I wonder if for the number 1 seed, that would even be better, because the 8 seed, let's be honest, is not going to be a great team. They're going to be a team that's probably going to be a double-digit underdog coming to your place. I wonder if that would actually be better for a team to face a team like that, where if we play well, we can win, but kind of keep your rhythm and your mojo going other than getting that week off.
Yeah, but the problem, Tom, is that you're going to start getting squads that are just not very good. To your point, that's fine. But now all of a sudden it's a squad that's, 8 and 9 or, 7 and 10.
Yeah.
And they're sneaking into as the 8th seed to come rolling in to play the number 1 seed and have a shot at the crown. In some ways they've expanded it beyond its capabilities, but I'm not against it, but expanding it feels like we're just muddying the water even more.
No, I agree with you, Steve. Like, I don't want it. I don't think we need it. My question was kind of, would it be better for the number 1 seed to play a team like that rather than have a week off?
It's it's the group in the locker room that can stay sharp, and and you have to go through it. I think that we got really good at taking the weeks off because we got used to it. We knew. Well, in '87 we got punched in the face. We're like, never again.
Yep.
So we were number one seeds for 4 of the 5, 6, 7 years in a row following that. And so I think some ways, the scar tissue was the thing that made the difference for us. And we talked about it every year. It was like, that was just the most shocking, terrible situation to ever get into a home field number one seed, and someone rolls in and just punches them out, and and it's over. And I think that there's scar tissue on this team. They've been beaten last year. I mean, they've been beaten in big games, and it hurts. And so there's part of it that I think will keep them. And they've got experience. They've got great leadership. Fred, guys on both sides of the squad. Trent, they're guys that are older. They carry the locker room. George, they're just. I think they'll handle it well. Like I said, when I say there's fear when you take a couple weeks off, that's true. But our group is probably as well ready to take the week off as anybody. I would think the Ravens, from what we've seen from them, are probably in a pretty good spot too.
Yeah.
Is this a situation, Steve, where you think it's the rest helps them? Because I'm sort of associating it a bit with what we saw around the bye week time, right? They lost 3 games in a row, but they were already banged up. They started so hot. They seemed dominant. They had some flaws, but they came out and they were almost a different team and more dominant on both sides of the ball than when they went into the bye. I was talking to Matt Mayoko and some of the guys who cover the team, and they were saying the bye week could be more beneficial to the Niners than anybody else just based on the age and health of where they are, especially offensive line-wise.
Especially if you've got guys that need the time. In other words, they are banged up, and everybody's probably banged up at this. So that's the big thing, is you do get healthier and you do heal up and you do get more ready. But again, because football, how many times I said this, Newt Rockney is famous because he made a speech and everyone played great. Like, you make a speech and you play great? Like, because it's an emotional game. Like, it's an emotional game that if you don't build the emotion and the preparation and all that kind of to go ram people, then you can be healed up all you want. But if you're not ready to play, then you got a problem. So there's 2 parts of it, right? Getting ready to play and then being healed up. And I think the week off, as long as they take care of business and get ready to play emotionally, getting healed is a good thing.
Have I not been talking about this all week? I keep bringing it up. And what's interesting is actually right before I was about to make this video, I went back and I watched this video popped up in my YouTube feed from Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco. They have a very similar thought process as Steve Young when it comes to not playing this next game and having a bye. And that was their instant reaction to the 49ers winning on New Year's Eve. And both of these players, Steve Young, went through a situation like I talked about. I've been saying all week, so let me kind of set the record straight. Is Kyle Shanahan seeing his dad rest players in the final week when his dad was the head coach. They rested players at the final week. They're like the best team in the NFL. They had a first-round bye, and they got the brakes beat off them in the divisional round. But what Shannon Sharp was talking about, he was talking about the year Mike Shanahan was the coach. So they have both experienced being the top team in the league, not playing in that final game of the season, and taking the first round bye, and then not having a good outcome in the divisional round. Now, not trying to put any fear into anyone's heart right now, because I understand that the fan base is fully in the belief that the bye is 100% a good thing because it gives you time to rest and recover and be healthy. And we know that's the number one thought process for fans. But for the players, there's a lot of momentum about this game. We talk about momentum all the time. You go back to that Ravens game, it just felt like, again, the momentum got away from them. And that's kind of why the game looked ugly like it did. But with this particular game, again, Brock isn't going to play against the Rams. That means they have to prepare the other quarterbacks to play, Sam Darnold, Brandon Allen. I think they're splitting reps in practice and things like that. And then you have a bye, and then you have a week lead up into the game, and that's 3 weeks that you're not playing. And so as you hear from Steve Young, Steve talked about how that happened to the 87 team, and it was such a crazy experience because they were the best team in the league, And the Vikings, again, just clawed their way through and punched them in the face, and they were out just like that. So this is kind of where I've been speaking from for the majority of this week about, like, I don't know if Kyle's going to rest anyone. So I kind of feel like the Rams resting has kind of triggered Kyle to potentially, like, oh, God, we should rest him too. But I don't think Kyle really wants to rest him. Something tells me, after listening to Steve Young, his experience as a player, listening to Shannon Sharp, who was a player on Kyle's dad's team, who that might be the exact example I've heard Kyle talk about. I don't know if Kyle really wants to rest these guys, but I'm gonna choose to continue to stay optimistic. I'm gonna be positive. This is a good thing. They get their rest. They get to kind of recover. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be good. But again, I've heard from multiple players now, including Steve Young, who I mean I love everything Steve has to say. It's kind of a double-edged sword. So we'll see. But, hopefully the biggest thing is the 49ers can just maintain momentum through the bye week and be good to go and right back in the saddle. And I think, kind of like what Steve was talking about, the 49ers have the veteran players that can keep everyone focused, keep everyone locked in and engaged. So it's probably not going to be that big of a deal. But multiple players who've done it and experienced it have talked about this phenomenon of how, first round bye isn't always the greatest thing because of lack of playing. So just interesting. What do you guys think? Let me know what you guys think about Steve Young's thoughts on this. And of course, you can listen to the whole Steve Young episode in the podcast link in the description and go to CanBR and you can listen to the whole thing and any other podcasts that they put on there. Take a listen and let me know what you guys think. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.